on YouTube? Welcome to my channel. This is Lone Wolf, and in this video, we're gonna talk about Marksmanship Hunter's Heart of Azeroth essences that were introduced in patch 8.2. Now, this is gonna be a PvP point of view. So for those of you who are looking for a PvE point of view, keep that in mind. But before we get into that, I want to give a huge thanks to everyone who has come to the channel and show lots of love. A lot of milestones were achieved this past week, and I couldn't have done it without you. And I'm so glad that you guys enjoy Marksmanship Hunters and my videos, because I enjoy it. I love making these videos. So thank you. And so if you do enjoy the channel and the content that I put out, please consider subscribing. And if you get something from this video, give this video a like, all right? So with that out the way, let's get into it. For those of you who do not know what these essences are for your Heart of Azeroth, basically our necklace now in 8.2, you're able to put, it has 3 slots, and you're able to put these essences in these slots, all right? One slot is a major slot, and then you have 2 other slots that are minor. The essence that you put in the major, it'll allow you to use both the major and the minor, but the other 2 slots, which are minor slots, only allow you to use minor slots. So you will ultimately have 1 major and 3 minor slots, okay? So keep that in mind. So these essences, I've tested them out. The ones that I'm able to access and within the first 2 weeks. As we all know, tomorrow we're going to have the new raid, we're going to have the dungeon, and basically access to more of these essences. But for right now, I was only able to test the 7 that we have, plus Vision Perfection in the PTR, all right? So these are my opinions of where these essences are going to be most useful and how they're going to work with the spec, all right? So the first essence I want to talk about is Vision of Perfection, right? So what Vision of Perfection is an essence that it allows your abilities the chance to activate True Shot for a duration, all right? It's not going to be the entire duration, but for a specific duration, depending on the rank. And when it does activate, you and 2 other allies gain haste, right? And then the minor power, it increases your versatility, reduces your True Shot cooldown, and when you activate True Shot, it heals you for 5% of your maximum health, right? I tested this out, and it's only when you activate it. It does not count for when it procs, all right? Now, what I found to be pros of Vision of Perfection is it smooths out your rotation, okay? And it allows more use of aim shot and rapid fire, all right? So when it procs your True Shot, it reduces your cooldown, right? So you get rapid fire a lot sooner, and your aim shot is constantly recharging, right? This is a very focus hungry essence, so keep that in mind. The cons for this essence is it's just a little bit too random, right? It doesn't. Sometimes it can proc very consistently, but there's sometimes where there's long droughts without it. It's it works similar to Lock and Load, where you might get a proc back to back, or you might wait a minute plus in order to get this proc to come out. Now, the good thing about this is the minor is attractive for a lot of builds, all right? So the major is not necessarily awesome for everything, but the minor, you can use it for different builds. Now, one thing is, if you use Calling the Shots and True Shot Master, then this essence is gonna allow you to use True Shot every minute, even less than a minute, all right? Considering that we have the PvP talent versus just Calling the Shots. So we might actually use this very often, okay? When it comes to using True Shot. Not only are we be able to use True Shot more often, we will get the proc. So our playstyle might get very fast paced more often, all right? When everything deals with True Shot. When having a build that revolves around True Shot and your aim shots. Alright, so keep that in mind. Again, this is a very hungry focus build, so I do recommend another essence which is called Memory of Lucid Dreams to help you with your focus management. Alright. Now I'm not gonna go all crazy and tell you what are the best combinations, only because I haven't tested them out. But some are very obvious, and I'm gonna mention, just like how I feel like Vision of Perfection, if you use the major, is going to synergize well with Memory of Lucid Dreams, because you're going to be casting a lot of aim shots and rapid fires, etc., etc. So what I put Vision of Perfection with the right build, I think it can be an A tier. But if you just use it for the major and just use like the cookie cutter build, I would consider it a B tier essence. Okay, the minor can be an A tier, again, if used with the right combination and the right talents. Vision of Perfection is going to work amazing in BGs, group, world PvP, and epic BGs, not necessarily arenas. All right, the proc is just too random. There are other essences that can prove more useful in your major slot. The minor trait does help out a little bit more because of the heal, but there are other traits that can prove more useful. The next essence I want to talk about is Crucible Flame. Crucible Flame will be the first essences that you gain. So when you start doing the quest line for 8.2, boom, you're going to get it. It's the first one you're going to get to play with, etc., etc. This essence is going to be your bread and butter, 100%, okay? Let's look at the pros. The pros, it fits great in your rotation and your burst. You can heal yourself or an ally. It's an ability where it's easy to set up, and you can even hold on to for that moment where you either need to do damage or continue your burst or to heal yourself. The cons is the minor trait is okay. It is a dot, but if you're going to kill a target, you don't have to necessarily worry about your CCs, because they're either going to be in a stun or they don't have any cooldowns to mitigate or to escape your damage. But with that being said, if you do crit on your third Crucible of Flame cast, and it crits for 35, 40k, then 75% of that damage is going to become a dot. So it can be substantial, all right? So keep that in mind. Again, this is going to be your bread and butter. This is probably going to be your most used ability if you do a lot of solo play, if you do a lot of random BGs, even if you're out questing, because it does provide for that heal. But when it comes to epic BGs or mass scale PvP environments, there's going to be way better essences to use in that environment. But again, I consider this an S tier. A major trait for a spec that lacks survivability, this can be huge for when you need that little bit of heal, okay? And it's on a 30-second cooldown. The next essence I want to talk about is about Blood of the Enemy. And this is an essence that a lot of people are curious about. It has a lot of things that seems anti-marksmanship, but is very powerful. So you gain this from doing PvP content, all right? If you go to your PvP, you get a quest for NPCs who give you quests for like world PvP, and then you unlock the next ranks by continuing doing PvP and gaining honor, all right? Now, what are the pros for Blood of the Enemy? Pros is it has huge potential when used right. All right, it can potentially give you, out of all the essences, the most damage within your burst. That is its pro. But its con is it is not useful all the time and can lead to awkward situations because of the range that you need to use it on. The CD does not synergize with any of our CDs. And it has a long setup time because this is an ability that is under the global cooldown. So it's basically a high risk, high reward type essence and it requires like a higher skill cap, right? This is not for everybody. You need to understand your spec, your cooldowns, and the enemy's cooldowns as well, all right? That way, you and your partner can immobilize the target. You start it up, and boom. And most likely, you already have to have, because of the duration of this essence, you're gonna already have to have your cooldowns running. So if you have the double tap or a true shot, you should already started using those before using Blood of the Enemy. Again, this is a very situational. You have to be close to the target, and it has a long setup time. So what it would look like would be something like you double tap, you set up you preemptively double tap, set up the burst window, you Blood of the Enemy, and then you use your trinkets into a double tap rapid fire. All right, but again, it's a lot of setup time. I don't suggest using true shot, only because it's just an extra step, and your rapid fire with the extra critical strike bonus damage is going to be more than enough to kill the target. Okay, I consider this an A tier. I would say S tier, but because there's so many downs to it, you have to 100% know everything that's going on. You have to be aware. If you're newer to the spec and you're getting into it, Blood of the Enemy is not going to provide you any good, because it's a lot. It's a lot, okay? Considering how the spec plays out and how our defenses are and how the enemy defenses are and how much setup time, it has to be perfect. It's a very niche ability, right? And the longer that the game continues, the more awkward it is for you to time its use. So keep that in mind. If you're new to the spec or you're not comfortable, play with a different essence. This is a higher skill cap essence, okay? The next essence I want to talk about is Unbound Force. And the Unbound Force is earned by doing reputation quests with the Nazjatar faction, all right? So you get one at Honored, Revered, and then at Exalted. All right, so the next ability I want to talk about is Unbound Force, all right? You get this essence from doing reputation quests with the Nazjatar faction. Now, what is Unbound Force? Unbound Force is major. It is an active ability that you use, and within the next 2-second duration, it deals out little damage on its own, but when it crits, it does substantially more. It does 300% plus every time it crits, it sends an extra Azerite to deal damage to the target. But the minor, it gives your critical strike a bonus of 70%. All right, your rating. So you will probably be at 100% critical strike at this point, but it only lasts for 4 seconds. Okay, so what I recommend doing is you are able to plan this. If you see that your stacks is at 19, then you can use your cooldowns. Your true shot lasts 15 seconds. Your double tap lasts for 15 seconds, or I think true shot is 12 seconds. So remember, the minor, it increases your critical strike rating by 70%, but it only lasts 4 seconds. So what I would do is I will proc everything at 19 stacks. All right, if I know that I'm going to continue doing damage, if I can't do damage and I do have my double tap out and all my cooldowns and my trinkets and everything, then I lose out. All right, you have to make sure, and this is a pro, by the way, this is a pro. You have to make sure that you know you're going to continue to do damage, and while doing damage, that stack is going to get to 20. So the next essence I want to talk about is Unbound Force. And what Unbound Force is, the major is a castable ability that deals damage. Very little damage on its own, but if it crits, it does 300% bonus damage And also, when it does crit, it sends out extra Azerite shards to the target, dealing a little bit more damage. The minor power, however, is a buff that stacks up to 20 times. And once it gets to 20 times, it gives your critical strike rating a boost of 70%. All right, so by that point, you will have 100% or close to 100% critical strike. So most likely, all your abilities are going to crit. So what I recommend doing is, I consider this essence a fun ability. All right. And the minor trait is more valuable than the major, okay? Because your aim shot can do much more damage and your rapid fire does a lot more damage, the Unbound Force. But if you do decide to use the major power and the minor, then what I recommend doing is, when you get to 19 stacks and you are clear to hit the target and the target is not going to move, you use your trinkets, you use your double tap, and maybe your true shot if you're that comfortable if you're that confident that you're going to hit that target within that setup time. And if it's at 19 stacks and all this is going on, you can proceed to use Arcane Shot or whatever, get the buff, and once you get the buff, you use your major. And the good thing about the major power is, even though the duration is 2 seconds, you can still cast while it's casting, okay? So basically, you use Unbound Force. That is a 1.5 second cooldown, but it's going to continue for 0.5 seconds extra, okay? So once that global cooldown is up, it is still doing damage while you are able to cast any of your abilities. So you use it, and immediately after, you go into a rapid fire. If you have your true shot up and your target's health is at a point where your 2 aim shots is gonna kill that target, then I recommend using that, because it's a faster kill. All right, you're going to crit with both your aim shots. Your Unbound Force is gonna crit, and it's gonna be a lot harder to save the target. Okay, versus the most secure way will be using rapid fire during this window, because rapid fire just deals a lot of damage. It just does a lot of damage. But there is a chance, since it lasts 3 seconds, that he might be able to use a CD or be helped by a different target. But we're talking about literally seconds. All in all, you're at 19 stacks of the buff. You're about to hit 20. You double tap. You may or may not true shot, but you proc it, use your Unbound Force, and then into a rapid fire. That's how I would use that ability. It has a 45 second cooldown. Now, keep in mind that Unbound Force has, at rank 3, a 45 second cooldown, and your minor might take a little bit longer because your uptime might not be that much, being that we're Marksmanship hunting. You know, we get line of sighted all the time, we get stunned, we have to kite, we got a line of sight, or we get line of sighted, so your uptime might not be good. But I do recommend saving double tap for that proc. All right, that's a lot to do. If that's not something that's interesting, that 100% there are better traits, I do recommend this in BGs and in epic BGs. Not necessarily world PvP unless you're in a group fighting other groups. And in arenas, it's just very niche. It has to, the game has to last a longer time. You have to have a lot of uptime, and the major power is underwhelming. The major power is underwhelming and is very dependent on the minor trait. So you might be able to blow people up under the right conditions. I consider this a B tier. I almost went C tier, but because it has such a short cooldown, you're able to do this once every minute or so. I feel like that's okay to put in a B tier. All right, you will have access to this power a lot more often than not. So the next essence I want to talk about is Conflict and Strife. All right, this is a essence that a lot of people are curious about. It has its perks, but it also has its cons. So you get this essence by doing rated PvP or getting conquest. not too hard to get, but will it be great for Marksmanship hunters? So what are the pros? The pros are, if used right, it can mean the difference staying alive and dying. Plus, the minor trait gives a lot of versatility and it synergizes with other minors and majors. The cons are, if you're not the kill target, if you're not somebody who's going to be focused on, then you lose out on damage, all right? Because there are other essences that provide a lot more damage than Conflict and Strife. If you do decide that you want to play a versatility build with a lot of survivability and all that stuff, then Conflict and Strife is just gonna do you right, because it also gives you high explosive trap for free. All right, so not only will you be hard to kill or harder to kill than in the previous seasons, but versatility is doubled if you're stunned. It gives you a high explosive trap for free on top of the other 3 PvP talents that you have. So it does has its use, and with the right build, it's gonna seem very fun and it's cool. But if you want to do maximum damage, then Conflict and Strife is not gonna be the essence that you're gonna go for. All right, so this is an A tier if you're focused, and a B to C tier if you're not focused. Okay, you just have to keep in mind if you're gonna be the kill target in a arena setting. And then for BGs, like I said, if you want to play a survivability build and in world PvP as well, it's fun. It's fun. It's just fun to stay alive, to deal a lot of damage plus heal, and just have that extra gap opener with high explosive trap or something to throw people off cliffs and stuff. It's a very fun essence. Okay, so keep that in mind and let's move on. The next essence I want to talk about is Memory of Lucid Dreams. Okay, and Memory of Lucid Dreams is an essence that you gain from doing quests for the main storyline in Azeroth. A lot of people are going to see that it is basically useless for Marksmanship hunters, since our abilities are CD dependent. All right, so it's not that we need focus all the time or anything. It's nothing like that. It is mostly like, oh, I need to wait until my aim charge come back from cooldown, or my rapid fire comes back from cooldown. Okay, so in that sense, this is a very lackluster ability. However, if you do find yourself playing with a Murder of Crows and Sniper Shot, maybe Explosive Shot, maybe Piercing Shot, abilities that use focus, then this essence gains a lot of value, especially the minor trait. I honestly feel that the major part of this essence, which is, well, I'm just going to read the tooltip. It clears your mind and attune yourself with the Heart of Azeroth, increasing your focus generation rate by 100%. And it gives you Leech. Okay, it's on a 2-minute cooldown, and the Leech is not enough for you to like re-heal yourself to full. All right, you're not doing it for the Leech, and the cooldown is way too long. I haven't found use for the major in any activity I did, whether it was pro PvP, arenas, BGs, epic BGs, none of that stuff. All right, but the minor power, it increases your versatility by a nice amount. It heals you by a nice, a very generous amount, and it gives you focus, so you have, it just smooths out your rotation, and you don't have to use your steady shot as often. Compared to being able to use a Murder of Crows or Sniper Shot on cooldown. All right, like without this minor trait, you might have to use, you will be using Steady Shot a lot more often. It does proc a lot. All right, I've had it proc back to back with Arcane Shots. All right, and on the 3rd rank is gonna heal you of 15,000 plus. That's pretty big, especially if you're in a BG. I think this is gonna be the BG minor trait, only because the heal that it gives you is substantial, plus the versatility, it adds damage to you, and it allows you to spam Arcane more often when your aim shot and your rapid fire are on cooldown. The major power, I give it a C. It's in the C tier, easy. It's just garbage. It's barfufu. I wouldn't use it at all for the major. But the minor, I give it a B, if not A. I will only give it a B if you do not use if you don't use other talents that use focus. But because you will use Arcane Shot and Aim Shot and stuff like that often, that heal is awesome. Plus it it gives you versatility, and it smooths out your rotation. But if you do use Sniper Shot and you do use Murder of Crows, then its value increases because you have more abilities that use focus, and it's going to give you more chances to get the heal and the proc. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is probably going to be one of my go-to. The next essence I want to talk about is Purification Protocol. And Purification Protocol is gained through the Rust Vault, which is the Mechagon Island, doing reputation and dailies with them. And you get one from Honored, you get one from Revered, and from Exalted. What is a Purification Protocol? Purification Protocol, the major power, it sends a beam down from the sky or whatever that deals damage to an area. And if a target dies in that area, you get 10% extra damage. The major essence is not necessarily the reason you're gonna go for this. You're really gonna go for the minor trait. The pros is that it deals damage and heals, and if you kill a target, it increases your damage. But the con is it's a slightly boring essence, but it does its job. All right, so the major power can find its use, but what you're really gonna go for is the minor power. And the minor power, what it does is it leaves the dot on a target, and it also procs a heal. If you want to focus entirely on damage, then you will want to put this in your minor trait. Okay, because it's gonna give you not only damage but a little bit of extra survivability with its heal. The heal isn't as substantial. It has an okay proc rate. All right, so you're gonna constantly gain heals. So, for instance, if you play with Vision of Perfection as a major, you use Memory of a Lucid Dream as a minor, and you use Purification Protocol as a minor, then you're gonna constantly be flooded with heals. You're gonna be constantly flooded with heals. If you use Conflict and Strife and those two minor traits, the Purification Protocol and Memory of Lucid Dreams, then your heals are more beefy. All right. It is a simple minor trait, and it just does what it is supposed to. It deals damage and it heals you. But there can be minor traits that can prove more useful depending on where you're going or where you're using it. I find the major to be okay in epic battlegrounds, and then that's it. In arenas, Purification Protocol is not going to be too useful unless you know that the target won't be able to move and you activate it right there. But it does only 30,000 damage. It definitely takes away from your global cooldown in arenas. I'd rather use an aim shot or a rapid fire. Even a precise shot, arcane shot. In BGs, everybody is moving. Even though it's on a 1 minute cooldown, you're not gonna be seeing a target in place that's not gonna move every minute. So it's a very poor major power, and I give it a C rating for major. But the minor deserves a B, if not an A, because if you want to go full damage, this can be awesome. And then the last one I want to talk about is Ripple in Space. Now, Ripple in Space you get from doing World PvP. All you need to do is do World PvP in either Mechagon and Azeroth. Actually, you have to do it in both to gain higher ranks. What is Ripple in Space? Ripple in Space is an active ability that when you place the reticle somewhere on the ground, 2 seconds later, you teleport to that area. As a Marksmanship Hunter, you're not going to teleport to a target or to set up smart plays like juking people and stuff like that, especially when you're kiting somebody in one direction. You can put the reticle right behind them. So as you continue kiting, you're just going to disappear and you're way in the other side, still dealing damage. So plus the minor increases your damage by a little bit, not so much. So if you find yourself standing still for a while, then this is not going to be a good minor trait. It is a fun essence to use. All right, I do find it fun in World PvP. I do find it fun in BGs. In arenas, there are add-ons that show when you use this ability, and it leaves a very obvious mark on the ground that shows that you're gonna teleport right there. So maybe right now, not many people are used to it. It's gonna fool a lot of people, but in arena specifically, people are gonna be aware of that. You might be able to see it. So it's not gonna be too good in arenas, at least later in the season. But again, it's gonna be fun in BGs and stuff like that. Not necessarily in epic BGs. You're gonna find way better essences to use in epic BGs. Right? Honorable mentions is Worldvine Resonance. Worldvine Resonance is basically something you get from island expeditions. The major power can be okay, but there are other essences that provide more utility and more damage for its use. But if you find yourself in a BG or epic battleground, then this will be great because it helps your teammates out by providing them a boost in ability and damage. All right, and the minor trait behaves exactly like major but more random. All it does is when you activate it, these life shards comes out, giving you agility, and your other teammates, it gives them agility as well. So if other teammates are using it, then everybody is just getting benefit from it. So this is really maybe a world PvP for group play and for epics, but not necessarily for arenas or BGs. Only because you're more of a solo and you have other essences that just do way more things than this. Okay? And then the other one is Condensed Lifeforce. This is mostly for, I guess, Mythic Plus and stuff like that. You have to be in melee range, and it has a 3-minute cooldown. All right, it does not synergize with anything that we use. We are a range spec, and most of our cooldowns we want to use them as quick as possible, and they're shorter than most. So that does not play out at all whatsoever with the spec. That's why I didn't really want to talk about them as much. All right, so those are the thoughts on my essences. I am curious though, what you guys rate these essences in your tier list. What are some of the builds that you want to try with these essences, and your general thoughts? All right, I'm curious. I want to know more, and even insights, something that I missed. Put in the comments below. It'll be very welcome. And so yeah, with that being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.